New political parties are established in EU member states all the time. Despite the year's strange and challenging circumstances, 2020 was no different. Here we give a brief overview of some of the most successful new parties founded in Europe this past year, limiting our choices to parties that either gained representation in the national or EU parliaments or appeared in political polls. In Croatia, Dominovski Pokret Miroslava Škore, DPMS, or Miroslav Škoro's Homeland Movement, was founded by former pop folk singer and presidential candidate Miroslav Škoro on the 29th of February 2020. On July 5th, the National Conservative Party received 10.9% of the votes in a shared list with other minority parties, eventually coming in third place. At the beginning of December, the party stood at 8.8% in Europe Elect's polling average. This party opposes the further integration of the European Union and focuses on socially and culturally conservative issues. DPMS is arguably the most successful newcomer of 2020, gaining both parliamentary representation and a sizable share of the vote within a year of its creation. Right to Change is a de facto split-off from the left-wing party Independence for Change in Ireland. That party is largely centered around the member of National Parliament, Joan Collins. However, the history around R2C goes beyond this single MP, or TD as they're called in the Republic of Ireland. A non-party movement, R2C emerged in 2015 with the support of numerous trade unions, left-wing parties, and high-profile public figures and politicians supporting its demands. Numerous candidates and eventual elected members of parliament supported their demands before the 2016 election. After the 2020 election, Joan Collins found herself as the sole remaining Independence for Change MP, and so decided to create a new party based on the principles of the R2C movement and anchored in the trade union movement. R2C hasn't appeared in any of the polls so far, and currently has no representation in the European Parliament. The party is socially libertarian and economically left-wing. R2C adds to a number of relatively small left-wing parties in Ireland. Their position on EU integration in general is somewhat unclear. Elines για την Πατρίδα, or Greeks for the Fatherland in English, is a far-right party in Greece. The party was founded by former Golden Dawn spokesperson and MP Ilias Kasidiaris after disagreement with party leader Nikolaos Michaloliakos on the need for fundamental reorganization of that party. Kasidiaris claims that, unlike his previous political home, this new party is ideologically closer to, for example, La Lega in Italy, rather than right-wing extremist or neo-fascist groups. This is also reflected in the logo of the party, which strongly resembles that of Lega. The party had a very brief presence in the polls, but has now largely disappeared, especially after Kasidiaris and other former and current Golden Dawn members were found guilty of running a criminal organization. The party has neither national nor European parliamentary representation. The story of Groep Otten is complicated. In the Netherlands, the Party for the Future in English was established in May 2020 as a splinter group of the Pensioners' Party, 50+. The leader of these dissidents was the former 50+ party leader, Henk Krol, who left 50+ due to protracted conflicts within the party. Through a partner MP who left the Environmentalist Party for the Animals, Van Koten Aresen, and another 50+ MEP, shifting alliances, PVDT gained minor national and European parliamentary representation. On October 18, 2020, Krol left the Party for the Future because of a conflict with Senate member Henk Otten, whose national parliament group, Groep Otten, had joined the PVDT on June 29, 2020. In August, Van Koten Aresen left the party in disagreement with Henk Otten's plans to turn PVDT into a right-wing party. On October 19th, Krol announced that he would be setting up a new party with the name Leest Henk Krol. Meanwhile, PVDT was rebranded as GO. As the de facto threshold for parties in the Netherlands is very low at 0.67% of the vote, it's currently unclear if GO or Leest Henk Krol will enter parliament even though they don't show up in polling figures. GO is only represented in the upper chamber of the national parliament as their single MEP has also left the party. Leest Henk Krol, or LHK, holds one national MP in the lower chamber. Both parties are economically and socially centrists, and rather neutral towards EU integration. In Malta, the centrist PD merged into the Green AD on the 17th of October 2020. The two most prominent third parties in Malta work together now under the umbrella AD-PD, combining a vote share in the polls of 1%, which technically makes it Malta's third largest party. The party is strongly in favor of EU integration, supports centrist economic policies, and socially libertarian values. It has no national MPs and no representation in the European Parliament. It's Europe's smallest third largest party by vote share in polls as well as in the size of its electorate. Frie Grønne, or Independent Greens in Denmark, is a left-wing environmentalist party that split from the environmentalist Alternativet party. You can learn more about Alternativet by clicking on the link somewhere on your screen. This split had its roots in the 2020 Alternativet leadership election, in which Josephinefock was elected chairman on February 1st. In response to what they describe as her confrontational leadership style, Alternativet founder Uffe Elbæk and 3 other of the party's 5 MPs resigned from the party on the 9th of March 2020. Subsequently, Elbæk and his allies founded Frie Grønne on April 20th, 2020. While the party does enjoy national parliamentary representation, it hasn't been mentioned in any polls so far. This is because they are well under the 20,000 signatures required to appear on the ballot in Danish elections. At the moment, they've collected around 3,466 signatures. The party is economically left-wing, socially libertarian, and in favor of EU integration. Slovakia's new center-left party, Hlas, or Voice in English, split from the center-left Smer party in September 2020 and is today the strongest party in the country according to the latest polls. This split in Smer was triggered by a power struggle between 2 of the party's leaders, Robert Fico and Peter Pellegrini. Fico remained in control of the party, and Pellegrini decided to create one of his own, which became Hlas. Ideologically, Smer and Hlas are close. However, Fico's Smer party is more conservative on social issues, such as immigration, while Pellegrini holds social views that are closer to those of social democratic parties in Central and Western Europe. Even so, Hlas generally tries to avoid socio-cultural questions, instead trying to portray itself as a party of technical experts of the center-left. Today, Hlas holds 11 out of 150 seats in the Slovak National Parliament. Christioniu Sajunga, or the Christian Union in English, is a party that can be traced back to the expulsion of the Homeland Union Lithuanian Christian Democrats MP Jonas Dagis on the 26th of June 2019. Among other concerns, Dagis publicly questioned the compliance of the then presidential candidate Ingrida Šimonytė's values with Christian democratic principles. Šimonytė would eventually become Prime Minister of Lithuania in December 2020. Dagis, a former social democrat, established the Christian Union on February 8, 2020, bringing conservative members of the Homeland Union with him. On the 30th of April, Dagis and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán signed a cooperation agreement based on their common will to create a Christian Europe as envisioned in the plans of the pioneers of the European integration, notwithstanding different views on other political issues. Despite holding seats in the outgoing parliament, the party lost its representation after the parliamentary elections in October, following a disappointing 0.8 result. Ima Takav Narod, There Are Such People, was founded by Bulgarian singer and TV host Slavi Trifonov on the 16th of February 2020. This party has no known international affiliations and hasn't yet contested an election. However, at the beginning of December 2020, ITN sits at 6.9% in the Europe Elects polling average for the next general election. The University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, found that the party is neutral towards EU integration, socially slightly traditionalist, and economically centrist. Nevertheless, its founder, Trifonov, has stated that the party supports Bulgarian membership in both the EU and NATO. Juiste Antwoord, or Correct Answer 21, was founded on the 18th of December 2020 by Joost Eerdmans and Annabel Nanninga. The two were, until 2020, part of the National Conservative Forum for Democracy Party. Eerdmans, who was also the leader of the local Livable Rotterdam party, was the number 4 on the FVD candidate list for the parliamentary elections in March 2021. Nanninga was elected as an FVD member of the First Chamber, the upper house of the Dutch parliament. However, the two left the party due to infighting that led to its fall, as well as allegations of anti-Semitism on the part of FVD's leader, Thierry Baudet. The JA21 party represents itself as the moderate right-wing voice between the two big Dutch parties on the right, Prime Minister Rutte's VVD and Geert Wilders' PVV. The party hopes to sway voters from these two political parties who think that the VVD has shifted too much to the center, but also that the PVV is too radical. Some former members of La République En Marche, mainly those leaning to the left, have announced the creation of a new political party, the New Democrats, les Nouveaux Démocrates in French. This new movement was announced by former En Marche MP Aurélien on the 16th of December 2020. 6 MPs have announced they will now join the new movement. All of them were elected as part of En Marche in 2017, and 5 of them created the now-defunct Ecology Democracy Solidarity Group, which lasted only 5 months, from May 19th to December 17th, due to MPs joining the Modem and Agir groups. A notable exception, Fiona Lazar, announced she'd be leaving the En Marche group, and the party she will join the Nouveaux Démocrates on the day of the new party's creation. The party is co-chaired by Aurélien Taché and Émilie Cariou. The Estonian Party for the Future, or Tule for short, is a de facto merger of the center-right Estonian Free Party and the Estonian Biodiversity Party. De jure, these two parties were dissolved, and a new party was registered on the 8th of December 2020. EVA managed to join the national parliament in 2015, but lost representation in 2019. The EER closely cooperated with the Movimento 5 Stelle, or Five-Star Movement in Italy, but failed to enter either the national or the European Parliament in 2019, the only elections the party has ever contested. Both parties suffered electoral decline in past years, with a current vote share of about 1% in the polls. The party is neutral towards EU integration, but supports centrist economic policies and socially libertarian values. Now let's jump to Lithuania, where Nacionalinis Susivienimas, the National Alliance, was founded on March 7th by the philosopher Vytautas Radžvilas. Radžvilas was the first leader of the Lithuanian Liberal Union, established shortly after Lithuanian independence in 1990, the direct predecessor of the Party of Freedom and Justice. In 1993, he resigned as leader and left the party, citing concerns about the growing influence of businessmen and the socially liberal youth wing. In the following years, Radžvilas emerged to be a fierce critic of neoliberalism, focusing more on political philosophy and traditional ideals of Christian democracy. In his opinion, the demise of what he views as Christian values among the leaders of the European Union led him to oppose it. With this national alliance, which can be traced back to the People's Forum and the Let's Retrieve the State European election list, he wants to prevent further European Union integration and instead emphasize his ideas of the importance of the nation and the values of Christian civilization. The core of this criticism is directed against the national strategy adopted by the Lithuanian Parliament in 2012, which, in his opinion, leads towards full EU integration at the expense of the nation-state. The party has no known international affiliations and achieved 2.2% of the vote in the 2020 National Parliament election. Territories of Progress, Social Democratic and European Movement, or Territoire de Progrès, Mouvement Social-Démocrate et Européen, is a sleeping giant of sorts among the newly founded parties of Europe in 2020. This party holds 10 ministers, including junior ministers and secretaries of state, as well as 46 of the 577 national parliament MPs, making it the 4th largest party overall and the largest center-left party in the chamber. 3 of the 348 senators are also members of the party. This center-to-center-left party was created in January 2020 by different center-left MPs, mainly by En Marche MPs, formerly Social Democrats who today support President Macron. It was originally launched on February 1st, 2020 during a meeting in Pantin in Seine-Saint-Denis, and then presented at a press conference on July 2nd. Senator Xavier Iacovelli became its Secretary General. The party is socially libertarian and economically center-left, modeling itself on the German Social Democratic Party rather than on the French Parti Socialiste. At the same time, it is strongly in favor of European integration and is considered part of the presidential majority supporting Emmanuel Macron. Their only MEP, Irène Toléré, sits with the liberal Renew Europe group in the European Parliament.